Okay, so this is my first video of 2022 and I kind of wanted to share some of my favorite books from 2021. All of these books I gave 5 stars, and it's like a hobby that I picked up and I really liked reading them. So I hope you guys like them. I think I only have like around 8 books. The rest were like 4.5 stars or 4 stars. So I just want to share why I like them. And I just recommend all of these to you guys if you're interested in reading. I'm gonna start with my standalone, and then like the physical copies, and then the ones that I don't have I'll still show on the screen. My first book is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. The story is about Graham and Quinn, who they're like married, and it switches from time zones, I guess. So in the first chapter you see Quinn and Graham and how they fell in love. So every other chapter is how they began their romance and like how it led up, and then after that chapter you see them married and the issues that they have. So Quinn struggles with infertility, and it's like a big thing in their relationship that they both struggle with, but Quinn has kind of isolated herself, therefore like not letting Graham into how she feels or thinks about certain topics. And you go through the circumstances that they have, and you fall in love with both characters, and their relationship is like on the edge. Like they don't know whether they should stay with each other because they love each other, or should divorce because they just don't see, like she's the one who struggles with the infertility. He's okay and he can have kids, so she tells him like, oh, have kids with another woman, like you'll be happy, I know you want kids. And it's mainly her that wants kids. He does too, but not if he has to choose between kids and her, so he would stay with her. But it's kind of just like looking at the relationship, and it's a really beautiful story. I definitely cried, so I gave it 5 stars. I finished this the day I graduated and I loved it. I thought it was amazing, and I finished it like in like 2 days because I had to graduate. But really quick read. I think it's only like almost 300 pages, but it's so good. I think Colleen Hoover is one of the best like sad romance authors, because I read another one of her books this year, so I've seen them on TikTok too, so I definitely recommend this book. I feel like it's not talked about enough. So next I'm going to talk about another Colleen Hoover book that I don't have the physical copy of. It's It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I think you guys have all seen it like on TikTok and stuff. But It Ends With Us is about Lily, and Lily is a girl who it kind of like, again, it switches like her past and her present, and Lily talks about like her first love, and this is Atlas, and how she met him and how she eventually lost him. Like she just kind of fell out of touch with him, and I think that part of the novel was so good. I think it was one of my favorite parts to read about. So hopefully Atlas and Lily get their own book of like everything. And then it switches to her kind of in the present, and Lily's father was there's a domestic abuse in this novel. So her dad hit her mom, and her father has recently just passed away, and she's kind of left with this like, I guess like realization of her life. And in comes Ryle, and he's this neurosurgeon, and he meets Lily, and they have like this one night, I guess like romantic like night, just seeing each other, and then they lose touch, and then they connect again through like the plot. I'm not gonna say how, because I feel like if you want to read about it you're gonna like figure it out. But they reunite, and I won't give away too much of the plot, but it does cycle back into the domestic violence of her life, and she kind of has these flashbacks. So you kind of see the relationship. It's not like a romance per se, because it's more about Lily and herself, and how and the cycle of abuse that she's trying to put an end to, you know. I think it was really beautiful. Again, I cried in this one so bad. I think Colleen Hoover was amazing in her epilogue at the end. I think it just made me cry more than the book itself, what she said about her life as an author and what she went through. It was very beautiful, so I definitely recommend that one. I know it's like really popular, but it deserves the hype because it is that good. Okay, so the third like standalone book that I read this year was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and this one made me cry so much. It's not a sad book because it's not like super sad. I think it has a good ending, so to each their own. But Archer's Voice is about Archer, and Archer has suffered a traumatic experience from when he was a child, and therefore it leads him to be mute. He can't speak. So he's kind of in this town, but it's from the point of view of Bree. So Bree Prescott is this girl who her father has recently just been murdered, and she kind of wants to get away from like everything going on because it's overwhelming her. So she kind of goes to this cottage and lake where her and her father spent time, and she has just good memories of this place. She rents this cottage on this lake, and she just knows this is a temporary time for her to get her stuff together, just mentally prepare and be better, like strong enough to return back to her town and deal with her situations that she needs to deal with. So in this town, one night she goes to the store and she's like carrying all these bags, and they like rip open, and in comes Archer. And Archer, he kind of just is helping her pick her stuff up, and she's kind of embarrassed, like because she spills like certain items that she's like a little like, you know, like a little weird about it. And she's just like making like jokes and like conversation, like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. And he's just quiet, obviously, and she's kind of like confused on why this man didn't say anything. So she just gets all her stuff in her car and she says thank you, and he kind of just walks away. So she's kind of starts thinking about him, and as she settles into the town, she gets a job, and she kind of like talks about him to other people, like asking him why he didn't talk. And this is when she realizes that he doesn't speak. So she kind of made like a, I guess like a joke, I guess, in a way. It's like making fun of why he didn't say anything, like when she was like talking to him. So then she goes to his house because he lives near her, and she tells him like, oh, I'm sorry, in sign language. And she knows that, she tells him like, oh, I figured out that you're mute, that you're deaf. She thinks he's deaf. And she's like, oh, my father was deaf as well, so we can just sign so it's more comfortable for you. And he signs, and she realizes that he's not deaf. He can hear. And like him and her, they both have traumas that they're kind of not ready to talk about. And throughout the novel, Bree kind of finds her savior in Archer, and he kind of helps her overcome her trauma and helps her speak about it. And then Bree wants to help Archer with his trauma as well. And it's just about two people who, in unlikely circumstances, helped each other get over their traumas. And I really liked the ending. I think it was absolutely beautiful. I think Mia did an incredible job portraying these two characters, because although there's not a lot of talking between them, the chemistry is there and you can see it. So I really liked it. I think it was just an incredible way, because that was my last book of 2021. It was an incredible way to end 2021. I think it has the hype as well. Like, I know I've seen it on book TikToks and stuff, so I definitely recommend that one too. So the next two books that I'm going to talk about that I gave 5 stars are part of the series, the Four Horsemen, the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. And I have them here. I have these two. I like the other covers. I don't know if that's just me, but I got these on Amazon, and I think we're gonna start with Corrupt. This is the first book in the series, and this, I believe, is the 3rd or 4th book. Corrupt is about Michael and Erica, and the 4 horsemen are introduced. I think this series, first off, is just absolutely amazing. I loved it so much. I didn't read the whole series just because certain characters didn't speak out to me as much, but I do plan on reading them either way, their books, because I feel like I know it all comes together in the end. So this one, Corrupt, is about Michael and Erica. Michael is this basketball player in high school, and Erica is this, white, preppy, wealthy girl as well as him. They're all wealthy in this series. Almost everyone you meet in the series is pretty wealthy. And it's about 4 horsemen, which is like the 4 main guys of the novel, and 3 of them go to jail. and Michael is the only one who hasn't gone to jail. And at the beginning of the story, you see them all blaming Erica for why they went to jail. And you don't really know why, and she's kind of confused as to why throughout the novel, because once they get out of jail, decide that they're gonna get revenge on Erica. There's like, I don't know, I think there are some trigger warnings for this book because I feel like they're really mean to her and the things that they do are not acceptable. But you can tell that she just wants them to either leave her alone, but like she wants to know why. And they tell her that they blame her for why they left, and she's so confused as to why because she never did anything. And throughout the novel, you see Michael being on his friend's side and like taunting her and doing all these horrible things to ruin her life. He kind of starts falling in love with her, and he's unsure of what to do because he's like, oh, my friends, like what she did was so messed up, like, you know. And then he's like falling in love with her whenever he's with her. So it kind of starts off in Devil's Night, which is Halloween. And the four horsemen are known in this town for going around the town and like tagging, making like stupid crimes. Everyone knows it's them, just no one catches them. And this one night, Erica manages to slip in and join them on the Devil's Night. So you kind of see her involvement in all of these crimes and how she feels. And the chemistry between Erica and Michael is so good. You see alpha male and like submissive heroine. But I really like their chemistry. When I first read it, I gave it 5 stars because it was good. And I still give it 5 stars, but I love Killswitch even more. And you kind of see the big plot at the end. Like, it's a big, huge plot twist. I didn't even expect, I didn't even think about it until the very, very end. So then we have Killswitch. So Killswitch is about one of the four horsemen, and it's Damon. Damon is known as like the real, like out of all of the four horsemen, he's like the meanest one. He says the most brutal things, and he's kind of the one that does like brutal actions against women. He hates them, and we don't find out until like you read his book, but you hate him in all the other books leading up to this one. And then in this one, you just fall in love with him because you realize his story. So Damon, it's childhood friends to enemies to lovers. So Damon was childhood friends with this girl named Winter. She is this white ballerina, and she's really just kind of a nice girl. She is the daughter of the mayor. And Damon, his mom left when he was pretty young, and his dad is really, really mean to him. And throughout the book, he reconnects with Winter, and it kind of flashes back to when they were children and then to when they were in high school, and he would kind of like bully her. Winter is blind, and Damon has something to do with her blindness. When she's really young, she loses her eyesight, not from birth, but from an accident. And Damon is involved, and she doesn't ever she doesn't blame him for it, but she knows he was there. And when they're in high school, he kind of bullies her, but in a way that he makes it known that no one messes with her but him, you know? So he's the one who only like treats her bad. Then Winter in high school, she falls in love with this man, and he teaches her colors. Like, he teaches her what, like, for example, like of red, and then he teaches her the emotion that would tie to that color, and she falls in love with him. But meanwhile, Damon is like taunting her, like he's always around because her sister likes Damon, and he gets married to her sister when they're adults, but only to get back at Winter. It's kind of weird, but not weird, because it's not a real relationship. He's just doing it to mess with her life. And like I said from the first book, he made a crime and he blames her for going to jail. And he kind of taunts her as an adult with wealth, social status, family. So you kind of see this relationship that she doesn't want, but wants. And there's a big revelation at the end, but as the reader, we know like halfway, but she doesn't know. So I think it was different. I love that we as readers knew and weren't left out of the loop, and she was until the very end. And I think the ending was beautiful as well. The series that I'm gonna talk about is two, and they are both by Cora Reilly. One of them is the Kimura series, and then the other one is the Bound by Blood series. From the Bound by Blood series, I only have one that's my favorite, and this one is Bound by Vengeance. So this one is about Growl. Growl is an enforcer for the mafia. An enforcer is just someone who kind of does the dirty work for the mafia, as killing, torturing, and disposing of bodies. And it is pretty graphic, the killings and everything that's going on. So this Bound by Vengeance is about Growl, and his real name is Ryan. So I'm just gonna use his real name, Ryan. And Ryan, he is a very, very troubled man. He had his throat slit when he was young, and that's how he got his name Growl, because his vocal cords are damaged, that his voice is really, really deep. So this novel is about Growl and Kara. Kara is this girl who her dad works for the mafia. He's one of the main guys who works for the head of the mafia, but he has disobeyed the mafia, and he kind of gave information away. He was a snitch, and in the mafia you don't snitch. And the main mafia guy, he finds out that Kara's dad has betrayed them, and that is not okay. Kara is living this wealthy life with fake friends. You can clearly tell in the beginning. And she's already has an arranged marriage to a man in the mafia who is high up in ranking. So she's very excited to get married to him because she knows a lot of people think he's handsome and he's really going to be well off, and she's going to have a good future with this man. So one day you kind of see Kara's dad and the mother kind of tell all the daughters to pack up their stuff and that they're leaving. They're going to go to New York to join forces with another mafia. And Kara is very, very left out of the mafia world, but she knows that you only do that if you are betraying the mafia. So she's very confused because she thinks her father is a loyal man. When the capo finds out that Kara's dad snitched, he shoots the father, and he gives Kara away as punishment to Ryan, because he's known as this big, brutal man who's kind of gonna do the worst things to her. And she is scared for her life. She doesn't want to be given to him. She already tells the capo that it's not her fault and that she has an arranged marriage already set. Unfortunately for her, he's the capo, so he decides to call off that arranged marriage and just give her away like she doesn't understand what's going on, and she's split away from her family. So then Growl, which is Ryan takes her away, and she has all these bad perceptions of what he's gonna do with her and how he's gonna be as a person and treat her. Even though they're not having an arranged marriage, he's given to her like as a gift, but not really, because her social status is gonna be way at the bottom since he's an enforcer. And no one likes Growl because he is the son out of wedlock. His mom had him and she was a prostitute, and that's why he has no status. And you don't know anything about Growl's life at all, so Kara is very confused. But I really liked this novel because it's kind of like she's like feisty, like, oh, I don't want to be with you, don't talk to me. But she's the one who falls in love with him, and he's really nice to her and really cares for her. So you kind of see the plot unraveling, because it's not just about their romance, it's about her family and how when you betray the mafia, that's only punishable by death. So she knows that someone else is going to have to die for the sake of her father as well, like for his betrayal. And Growl is stuck between following his capo, who he has known for years and treats him very bad, but for some reason he's so loyal to him, or helping this girl out who he doesn't even know if she's doing it because she loves him or because she's using him. and the plot unravels there. I think it was so good. The ending, I feel like it all worked out. It's a really short book out of all these series, but for some reason I liked it the best because all the other ones, all the women or the heroines are getting married off to big mafia men, and they have different plots, but for this one you can clearly see that she doesn't want to be with him, and his story is so interesting that she keeps unraveling a little bit throughout the chapters, and I think it's really beautiful. Okay, so from the Cora Chronicles, there's a couple that I love. That's my all-time favorite in the Cora Chronicles, and that is Nino and Kiara. So they have 2 books in the Cora series. They have Twisted Emotions and Twisted Bonds. So Twisted Emotions is Nino and Kiara. Nino is part of a mafia in Las Vegas called the Cora, and Kiara is in a mafia. She is in the New York Mafia, and if you read the first book, Bound by Honor, the main alpha is her cousin. So she is super high up in social status. However, she is 19 and no one wants to marry her because her father betrayed the mafia. So the main mafia capo, he kind of it's her cousin, and he doesn't pity her, but he spares her. Luca, which is the capo, he murders her father, and her father murders her mother, and she's left as an orphan and is given to an aunt and uncle. But because she has betrayed the mafia, she is all the way at the bottom of the social status. And typically the women get married off when they're 18 in the mafia, but she's about to turn 19 and she has not been married off. And her aunt and her uncle are really, they're just trying to get her an arranged marriage, but no one wants to marry her. So then we kind of go into Luca and the Cora, and they have decided to join forces in order to defeat other mafias that are attacking both of them, in order to split the mafias that are attacking them and each focus on one of the mafias, in order to take both of them down and both of them to have an alliance. So the Cora plans to have a alliance with Luca, and they decide that the best way to form a solidified alliance is to have an arranged marriage from Luca's side to one of the main mafia guys on their side. The Cora only has, I believe, 4 brothers or 5, I'm not sure. So then the capo's brother is Nino, and Nino has emotional issues. He can't feel anything for anyone. He can't feel pain, he can't feel anything, he doesn't feel for anyone else, and it's really what makes him an enforcer for the mafia. So he's the main one, and he tells Luca that it would be best for Nino to get married with one of Luca's family members, because Nino, he can only think by logic. He doesn't think through emotions. So he knows that he'll keep a woman safe because he won't let his emotions get the best of him. Luca agrees, and he doesn't have any cousins that are available, besides Kiara. But he doesn't want to marry off Kiara unless she's okay with it. So he goes to Kiara and he asks her with it. Kiara knows that no one else wants to marry her in the mafia, and she agrees because she knows that ultimately she has to get married. So that's her last choice. He has a wedding, and in this wedding, a big plot is revealed. I think I'm going to say it because I feel like it's really important and why you might like the book. But Kiara was raped by one of the mafia men, and she has lost her virginity. And in the mafia, if you're not a virgin, you're not worthy of anything. So she's very scared that Nino's gonna find out that she's not one and that the wedding's gonna be called off. So Nino finds out that Kiara is clearly very traumatized from what happened, and he puts 2 and 2 together and he figures out who it is. And I'm not gonna say about anything what happens, but the way Nino is overprotective and caring for her, he cares so much for her emotions. And you would think a man who does not feel any emotions, really would dismiss her emotions, but he doesn't. You see her go to Las Vegas. She's in a whole new territory. No one she knows is there, and she's married to him. And it's kind of the relationship of how he has no emotions, but he cares for her emotions, and she thinks he's this ruthless man, but she's falling in love with him. And it's about her getting over her trauma, and the way he cares for her, honestly, it's amazing. There are like other mini plots throughout the story, because he has brothers, and how the brothers' relationships with her develop. And this transitions on to Twisted Bonds, which is their second book. And you see her develop ties with the family, and how her love for Nino grows, and how he loves her. And I think it had one of the most amazing endings. I think it was so good that how two opposite people, she feels too much and he feels nothing at all for others, they join together and they get their happily ever after, even though it's an arranged marriage. Like the other Bound by Honor, all of the books, they arranged marriage, but somehow the heroine and the alpha male, they develop emotions for each other, and they have their happily ever after. So that's all my favorite books of 2021. They're like all over the place, because I don't want to like say that I read like the whole series, because I didn't read the whole series for Penelope Douglas Devil's Night series, and I didn't read the whole Bound by Blood or Chronicles series either. So those are like my top books of 2021. I recommend all of them. They're all very different tropes. Just like I said, Bound by Honor and the Kimura, they're more mafia related, and the standalones that I was telling you guys about, they're more sad but coming of age and developing as a person. So I hope you guys like this video, and these are my favorite books of 2021.